Hi there, my name's Steve Schultz. Welcome to my show of paintings at the Ross Gallery at the Arts for Rural Texas facility in historic Fayetteville, Texas. I'm going to show you my paintings that were all painted of scenes around this beautiful town. So why don't you come on in and I'll show you. So 15 paintings in all, painted from April of this year to the end of September. So a tremendous amount of work, but a wonderful experience, because as I'm painting, and I painted these in my Rhode Island studio, my mind was in Fayetteville, because when you do a landscape like this, you have to have the right emotion and the right feeling, and therefore you got to put your mind in that place. So while I was painting in Rhode Island, I was really emotionally and mentally in Fayetteville, Texas. So this is the first one, called Crossing the Tracks, a familiar scene for anyone coming from Frelsburg or New Ulm. And you better slow down around those tracks, because you will bottom out if you're going too fast. Now the next painting is called In the Beginning. And this is a typical sunset here in Fayetteville, in this part of Texas. Bright, wonderful, and this just sort of captures that moment. And in this painting, I just love this purple stripe and the movement of that light through the painting. Now this painting, if you're from this area, you'll recognize these tracks. They're the freight train tracks in the town of Fayetteville. I call this the curve. These tracks are not only have this beautiful geometric curve, but it's also angled to a point where you think the train is going to fall off the tracks. It's a little weird looking, and this has a little bit of scariness to it, but it's a beautiful painting. Just really, I think, almost monochromatic, even though there's multiple colors here. Now this painting is called Burst, and it is, again, another sunset painting in the Fayetteville area. And it really just captures energy, an explosion of light and color. And I love this painting. It has a great feel to it, but a lot of action. This painting, called Evening Light, shows, what is a ubiquitous feature on the Texas landscape, especially around the Fayetteville area. This is ranch and cattle country, and these windmills for pumping water for the cattle are everywhere. And so this is just a beautiful evening, typical scene that you would see just driving around this area. Now, this painting, called Old Friend, is an image so familiar to people in Fayetteville. The town square in Fayetteville has a Gulf station on the corner. It's no longer a filling station, but it's being used now for other purposes. But this old truck sat out in front of that station for I don't know how many decades. And it's no longer there, so this is kind of now a historic image. But I really wanted to capture that old truck just sitting there, lit up by the sun in front of that gas station. And I just think this picture has just a great, really Fayetteville feel. Now this painting is a very special painting. It's special for a lot of reasons. One is that this is the courthouse that is the center of the Fayetteville town square. And so it's a very historic courthouse, and the clock tower was placed there by a group of women, I believe, a long time ago. And that clock tower rings out, the time, and it rings into the night. And so I call this Night Songs. And this is a real sort of twilight, almost nocturne painting. The building is lit up. It's facing the sunset, and it's just got this beautiful purple color and these wonderful oaks in front of it. Now this painting is called Soar. And this is really something I made up in my head. You do see the birds flying around, big birds flying around here in the sky, but most of the time they're black vultures, and I'm not sure anybody really wanted a painting of a black vulture. Maybe they would, but instead I had this sky that I painted on this canvas that I saw one morning in Rhode Island. I painted that sky and then figured I had to put a little life in it, and so I placed this eagle up in the corner and again called it Soar. So a great painting for somebody who just had a promotion or just graduated, and they can hang this on their wall and it reminds them of that achievement. So I did two smaller 8x10s of two barns in the town of Fayetteville. I walk around the town a lot, and these two barns grabbed my attention. These two red barns lined up the way they are with, just that light tin roof shining and just, the beautiful oaks overhanging. And then the second one is this white barn with its kind of rusty roof, and this is a little different time of year where the trees are bare and, you have those limbs coming into that bright blue sky. So these are two barns that I did that I always enjoy looking at when I walk through town. This painting I did of a group of longhorns. I pulled over one day on the side of the road and they were all head down, chomping away, and I started making some noise at this big one in the front, and he turned his head and looked right at me, and so I call this painting, "Who You Looking At?" Go back to my New Jersey upbringing. And this painting is a pretty good size, and again, a very typical scene of this area near Fayetteville. Now this is the feature painting of the show, and it's 24 inches by 48 inches, so pretty large format painting. And it is called The Way Home. Now this painting is from essentially a photograph that I took, which is then stylized in my own way, on my way from Cat Spring to Fayetteville, which is a trip that I would take pretty frequently because I have some kin over in Cat Spring. I had to stop. This sky was unbelievable, and I again took the group of photographs, and in this case I rearranged the telephone poles. They went basically right off of the image, and instead I sort of turned them around and created a bit of a religious theme in the organization of the telephone poles. Now this painting is one of an image of a road over in Cat Spring, Texas, so near Fayetteville, and it is very typical of some of the roads around here where you have these old live oaks that just create a canopy or an arched canopy over the roads, and this one in particular just really attracted my attention. And it's over by the Blisswood Ranch, which is a place I would stay while we were looking for a home in this area, and ended up buying one in Fayetteville. This one, has beautiful greens and these dark trees, and then this shadow I really highlighted in purple. So, the contrast I think really allows for a popping of each of those different colors. Now this painting here in the gallery is interesting because what I paired it with was my sketch, the original sketch that I did. Sometimes I'll do on-site sketches, and sometimes I'll go and do some quick sketches from photographs. And this one was my initial view of the scene and sort of just capturing the atmosphere, the movement, enough that I could take it, the sketch, and photographs and perhaps even some drawings back to my studio and complete the finished piece. Now, what these also do is teach you, and show you areas that you have to compensate, you have to change. And in this case, I had difficulty going into the painting, so what I did was to create this highlight in the back that sort of brings you brighter and brighter into the back and around the curve. And so, one of the keys to a good painting is does it draw the viewer in? Are you intrigued by what you're looking at? Do you want to go into the painting and feel its atmosphere and continue on through the journey that this painting is presenting you? And I think this one is successful in that regard. The final painting I call the Century Oak, and this is an amazing oak tree located in a recently donated park here in Fayetteville. And I take a walk down to this park. It's near my home, and I understand that this tree was looked at by a tree specialist from the state or even from the county, and it's deemed to be about 350 years old. Now I call it the Century Oak, but it's in real life multiple centuries oak. I painted this painting because I wanted to capture the beauty of this, but I also wanted to have an opportunity to give even more back. I mean, the sale of these paintings, a good portion of the sale of these paintings goes to the Arts for Rural Texas mission, which is a great mission. It's a mission to educate young people on creativity and art. And I think that creativity is really one of the key differentiators for Americans in the world market. So the more we can educate them on thinking creatively, the better. So this particular picture, all of the proceeds go to this newly established park to help with the maintenance, maybe with benches or something of that sort. So it's a very special painting, and I'm thrilled to be able to do something, like this for the community. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this tour of my paintings. Again, it was just a privilege and a pleasure to, not relaxing, but a pleasure to paint this group of pictures that depicts this wonderful and historic town of Fayetteville and Fayette County. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed it.